to Mr. Planet Brad, Coach Corn. What do you have for us on this lovely topic?
Good morning, good morning, good morning. Oh man, I tell you what, this is so funny. I got a great story for you on you had mentioned the book Eat That Frog. So this is back when my kids were little. I had Eat That Frog in the back seat of my car, and my daughter Allison is getting in the car and we're going somewhere, dance or who knows what. But she sees this frog and she goes, "What's that book?" I said, "It's Eat That Frog." And she goes, "What's it about?" And I was like, "Well, it's about procrastination." And she goes, "Have you read it?" And I said, "No, I've been procrastinating." So she just started laughing. So anyway, that's a great way for me to be the one to share here today, right? Anyway, so Don, you had asked about what would be a good idea for the anniversary week of the Achievers Breakfast Club. And one of the things I threw out there as a suggestion would be, wouldn't it be awesome if we could take all these topics, somehow clump them into five really specific topics that, because they all relate around each other to some extent, and then we just all come to stage with our top two or three starred items from our notes from those topics, which, as you're going through the end of the year, at least as I'm going through the end of the year, I'm going back through notes and pulling stuff out because I just take pages and pages of notes. And so my desk is just piled up and it's doing no good sitting there. So this is a perfect topic for a system that I came up with. You guys know me, Mr. Tactical System here. So if you do a swipe right now, swipe down and look at my picture again. I threw up two documents that really truly helped me end being a procrastinator and being ADHD or whatever all that stuff is, and having stuff everywhere and piles of notes on my desk. I remember just one point where I had heard this idea to take my top five ideas from like a conference. If I go to a 3-day conference, this is where I mostly use these forms and started using them. I'd go to a 3-day conference, take all my notes, and I'd probably have 50 to 100 starred items or circled items in my notes. If you look back through your clubhouse notes, there's certain things that you wrote down and you put a double star next to, or you circled it or highlighted it, whatever. So at the end of the day, I would look through all those starred items and I'd take my five best ideas and just write them down on the first document there, which is my top ideas from notes for that day. And then the next day, I do the same thing. At the end of the day, I took a whatever, just recap of my day before I went out and did anything else. I looked through my notes, grabbed my best five ideas. The third day of the conference, I do the same thing. I get my best five ideas down. And then at the end of the conference, I would go back to, now I would take out my top three and I would go through those 15 ideas. I'd say, all right, which one am I putting in place first? That's the top idea out of those 15. What's my next idea? What's my next idea? And what I found is every time I went to a conference, I at least got one major system, thing, item, something to make my life easier, get my time back, whatever it might have been. That number one item pretty much got done. I may have not ever gotten to two or three before I went to the next conference, but I at least got one thing implemented from every conference. And so my suggestion is grab these documents. I don't know a good way to get it to them. We'll figure that out. But it actually is on one of my websites. If you search Corn, Korn, you're going to find one of my free resource sites and they're downloadable there. But that take your notes from each day, get your five best things that were mentioned during this call, and that's going to be hard to do, but you're looking for your top five, and do that at each day. At the end of the week, you take those top five ideas, grab your top three idea, and narrow that week down to the three things that you can implement or put in place. So anyway, that's my share for today. That has helped me really just know that I'm going to put, at least, an idea into action from anything that I'm getting great ideas from. So thank you guys very much for everything that you've shared this year.
Thank you so much for your wisdom, Coach. And one of the key things I wanted to make sure that we lock in with what you mentioned is taking away key concepts, which sometimes the opposite side of the procrastination is the overwhelm that can come from doing things. And even, like you mentioned, when you go to a conference and you have, let's say, a 3-day conference, each one is 8 hours, you have 24 hours worth of content. What happens is, one of the reasons why people do not take action once they leave those conferences is purely because of the over inundation of the information. And so by using the strategy of taking away, I used to do one key concept per speaker, and I totally stopped that. And I said, like you found, the top 3 or 5 concepts, and what I adopted is doing one key concept per day, whether it was one line or one thing I learned. And then I would take those concepts, and after the conference, not only would I write them down, I would actually teach them to someone else, because when we educate someone else, that's when, and we understand the information, that's when it actually synthesizes into our brains and into our bodies. And so if you need to teach your dog, teach your goldfish, or you can come on and reach out to one of us in Clubhouse, or if you guys are actually learning different things in virtual conferences or in person, we would love for you to come to one of us in the mod squad and say, hey Amanda, hey Tony, hey John, we have this awesome topic and I would love to speak upon it, or can we go deeper into that? Because as we come to the new year, we do make our own topics and the themes of this room, and we welcome you guys to come into them. So if there are things that are curious on your mind, we welcome you for that. And I thank you so much, Coach, for the different resources with that. And so from you, we are going to pop straight over to Mr. Frank.
And can you come back